Well, in just a matter of hours, the American people may finally know what is inside that FISA memo as the left calls for House Intel Committee Chair Devin Nunes to step down. So what can we expect to learn today that has Democrats working so hard to keep the document sealed? Here now to weigh in is a former member of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, Steve Rogers. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We were just discussing in the break, how this entire thing is making people who work with the FBI feel about the organization.
Well, to begin with, as I said all along regarding this case, the hunters have become the hunted, meaning that the top executives of the FBI have politicized the entire investigative process of that bureau. How do the agents feel? How does law enforcement across the board feel? 38 years, I'm a police officer. I've worked with FBI agents, the finest men and women in the world. So it affects their morale, but it doesn't affect their job, their mission. They're very dedicated and committed.
So with these people, just to be clear, that we're talking about involved in this are people at the top of the chain who took and made things political. That's what we're dealing with here.
Yes, you're dealing with the executive officers from the director. In this case, it was James Comey and some of his immediate subordinates. And I can tell you, Heather, they're fighting like mad to keep this memo quiet because there's going to be a domino effect that's going to run a chill up and down law enforcement across this nation when that memo is released.
And one of the people specifically, we're told, we think, in the memo itself would be Comey.
Well, Comey, there was the timeline. It began when he actually concluded the Clinton email investigation without interviewing all of the so-called witnesses, suspects, etc.
Without interviewing Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. So there was in my view, and in the view of a lot of law enforcement officers, they were manufacturing an outcome to hurt Donald Trump. And I thank God today that he was elected president, because could you imagine where we would be if he was not the president of the United States today?
Yeah, and what about calls for Devin Nunes to step down at this point?
Why step down? He is trying to be as transparent as possible, and all along he and others have said, release the memo, let the American people decide who's right and who's wrong. And they're going to decide, I believe, that the president was right all along, and that the people are going to weigh on the side of the Republicans in this case because they're being transparent.
Do you trust for information to be redacted that would in any way have a negative effect in terms of our national security?
That's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
I've dealt with a lot of secret information, top secret information. I have enough trust that the Department of Justice and at least the president's team are going to do the proper redacting so that national security will not be affected.
Because that's one of the excuses being used.
Oh, of course. They're going to use any excuse to stop this memo from being released. But we have a lot of smart people involved in this, and they're going to make sure our national security is not hurt.
Should everything be released, though? What about the FISA warrant? I spoke with someone yesterday. They said, release all of it and let people make up their own mind.
Yeah, provided that it's redacted to the degree that it will protect national security. There's no, look, the FISA, the question here is, what did they use? What evidence? What probable cause did they use?
To get the FISA warrant to begin with. Yeah.
So there's your key, and that's really something they don't want released. I say release everything, provided it doesn't hurt national security.
And I just once again want to point out, it's the people at the top of the FBI who are reflecting bad on those men and women that go into communities and go out every day to do their job and protect us.
They're the best in the world, Heather, the best in the world. Unfortunately, they're getting hurt, but they'll recover.
Yeah.
They're good people.
They will, absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, the time now is about 17.